Hello, everyone. I'm Monica Reinagel. Welcome to the Nutrition Diva podcast. Buckle your seatbelts and pull out those pocket protectors because we are going full nutrition nerd this week, talking about the role of dietary protein in maximizing muscle protein synthesis. But wait, don't assume that this is only of interest to bodybuilders. Applying the insights I'm going to share with you today to your daily meals can have a monumental impact on your ability to maintain a healthy body weight, age successfully, and to bounce back from illness and injury. You may recall that in a previous episode on preventing age-related muscle loss, I explained that you can get more protein benefit without necessarily eating more protein simply by distributing your protein more evenly over the course of the day. And since then, I've heard from many of you asking how to adapt this advice to various situations and dietary patterns, such as those that are somewhat lower in protein. Well, I recently attended a meeting with some of the world's top protein researchers, and in between sessions, I hit them up for their insights on the questions that you've raised, and I've got some great new information to share with you. But first, let's just back up for 1 minute and talk about muscle protein synthesis and just what that is. Building and repairing muscle tissue requires protein, and that's a nutrient that our bodies kind of have to use as it comes in. We can't store it up for future use. So whenever we eat any foods containing protein, we get a little burst of muscle building activity. And the amount of muscle that you can build is dependent on the amount of protein that you've taken in at that meal. Eat a little bit of protein, build a little bit of muscle. Take in more protein, build more muscle, but only up to a certain point. Research done by Douglas Padden-Jones of the University of Texas has shown that muscle protein synthesis peaks or levels off at about 30 grams of protein per meal. Anything above that is largely wasted in terms of its muscle building benefit. Now, just to give you a quick frame of reference, a typical chicken breast contains 50 to 65 grams of protein. An 8-ounce sirloin contains about 70 grams of protein. A half cup of Greek yogurt, on the other hand, contains about 10 grams of protein, and an egg contains 6 grams of protein. To see how much protein you get from lots of other foods, you can check out my protein cheat sheet, and there's a link to that in today's show notes, which, as always, are at nutritiondiva.quickanddirtytips.com. Now, the average protein intake in the U.S. is just under 90 grams per day. However, we typically eat about 2/3 of that, somewhere around 60 grams, at dinner time, with breakfast and lunch typically being much lower in protein. That means that despite taking in plenty of protein over the course of the day, most of us are only maxing out our muscle building processes once a day. Now, maximizing your muscle protein synthesis once a day is definitely better than nothing, but there is a missed opportunity here. Padden-Jones has demonstrated that by taking that same 90 grams of protein and dividing it up more evenly across 3 meals, we could maximize protein synthesis 3 times a day instead of just once. Now, in practical terms, that usually means eating a lot less protein at dinner and a lot more protein at breakfast. Now, there's certainly nothing wrong with eating half a chicken breast or a salmon fillet for breakfast. But if you're not ready to start your day with a turkey burger, that's okay. A versatile source of protein such as whey protein powder can also be a really big help. And I've included a link in the show notes to an article that has suggestions for using protein powder to bump up the protein content of typical breakfast and lunch foods. Now, as I said, maximizing muscle protein synthesis is not just for bodybuilders and athletes. It's beneficial for all of us, but it's particularly critical for 3 groups of people: those who are over 50, those who are in the process of losing weight, and those who are recovering from any kind of serious injury, illness, or surgery. All 3 of these groups are prone to accelerated muscle loss, and that makes all 3 of those conditions, aging, weight loss, recovery, a lot more challenging. Ironically, the groups who have the most to gain from maximizing muscle protein synthesis, that's the older adults, those who are actively losing weight, and those recovering from illness or injury, are all likely to be eating a lot less protein than the average intake of 90 grams per day. They may be just taking in fewer calories in general in an effort to lose weight, or they may be eating smaller, more frequent meals because they have smaller appetites, or protein foods may just be less appealing to them. And this brings us to the burning question that so many of you have asked me. How can you get the most muscle building benefit if you're only taking in 50 or 60 grams of protein per day? Are you better off dividing that smaller amount evenly across 3 meals? Or what if you typically eat smaller and more frequent meals? Should some of them be heavier in protein and others lighter? Or should they all have just a little bit of protein? Well, some analysis done by Dr. Wayne Campbell at Purdue University suggests that when it comes to preserving muscle, hitting that 30-gram threshold once a day is better than never hitting it, especially for our 3 groups that are at increased risk of muscle loss. And hitting it twice a day is even better than hitting it only once. After discussing all of this with Dr. Paddon-Jones and Dr. Campbell and applying a little common sense, I've come up with the following guidelines for those who, for whatever reason, do not eat 90 grams of protein per day, but are still trying to maintain their lean muscle. Before I share those with you, a quick pause to thank our sponsor, Casper Mattress. The Casper, as you've probably heard by now, is an obsessively engineered mattress at a shockingly fair price. Supportive memory foams create an award-winning sleep surface that has just the right sink, but also just the right bounce. And Casper understands how important it is to get the right mattress. I mean, you're going to be spending a third of your life on it. And that's why they will let you try their mattress for free before you commit. You can sleep on it for 100 nights in your own home. And if you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. That's right, they have free shipping and returns within the US and Canada. With over 20,000 reviews and an average of 4.8 stars, the Casper is quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. And you can get $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting www.casper.com/diva and then use the offer code DIVA. And some terms and conditions apply. And now, here are 4 guidelines that can help you build or retain more muscle with a little bit less protein. Number 1, max it out at least once a day. If you only eat 50 grams of protein per day, you are better off eating 30 of it at a single meal than dividing that equally among 3 or more meals. If you can manage 2 protein-maxed meals per day, even better. Guideline number 2 is to do what you can. If 30 grams of protein is simply more than you can manage at a single meal, aiming for 25 or even 20 grams at a meal is still going to give you more benefit than just 5 or 10 grams. Guideline number 3 is to avoid eating more than 30 grams of protein at any given meal. Although that extra protein can be used as fuel, and by that I mean calories, it's not helping with muscle preservation. Move that protein to a different meal or snack. And finally, don't just feed your muscles, use them. Because you know what works even better than protein to build new muscle? Exercise. And you know what works better than either exercise or protein alone? Exercise plus protein. There's one final thing to keep in mind here. Most of this research presumes that the protein we're talking about is high-quality protein, namely from lean meat, fish, poultry, dairy, eggs, or whey protein powder. If you're getting your protein from plant sources, such as legumes, nuts, and grains, it may take significantly more than 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal to max out your muscle protein synthesis. On my blog at nutritionovereasy.com, I have a post on how to maximize the benefits from plant-based protein sources, and you'll find a link to that, along with links to the research that I've mentioned today and other related resources at nutritiondiva.quickanddirtytips.com. My thanks to Drs. Paddon-Jones and Campbell for their ongoing work into this important issue and for lending their expertise to our discussion here. If you have questions or comments about today's show, I'd love to hear from you. Come find me on the Nutrition Diva Facebook page or send me an email at nutrition@quickanddirtytips.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss a single episode. Thanks so much for listening and have a great week.